Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. We got some developing breaking news, if you will, getting kicked around that Jim Harbaugh, and this seems like we do this every single year, is potentially entertaining offers from the NFL. If you guys remember, last year this was a big story, interviewing with the Minnesota Vikings on National Signing Day. We don't even know if this is true. Bruce Feldman from The Athletic kind of leading leading the spear of reporting this. But again, I'm going to talk about it. And if this were to happen, like, where are we going for this head coach? Because we suddenly become like the cream of the crop for a head coaching vacancy. Before we get into it, though, I just want to say thank you guys for the support you guys have shown, especially the Michigan fans. You guys know, if you've been listening to us for a while, that we are Michigan fans. We love talking Michigan football. So if you do enjoy the content, you like talking Michigan ball, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate all the support you guys have shown, especially the last couple of weeks. Absolutely awesome, and we really do appreciate it. Dill, I'm going to kick this one off to you. I want to start with, what is your opinion on all of this first?
I honestly think it's kind of nonsense. I think these beat reporters, once recruiting is kind of wrapped up and
looking for something,
college football season's wrapped up, their lives don't stop. Like, they got to keep having people read and what they're doing. And again, what you mentioned, this story pops up every year without fail since he came back to Michigan. So no, I don't really put a ton of stock in it. I think last year was honestly, I think from everything I heard from the true Michigan, like, diehard beat reporters, always was that he told Ward Manuel after 7 years he was probably going to look. He came back to Michigan, and I mean, I'd have to take Jim at his word that he said he's going to be back. He's going to be at Michigan for as long as they'll have him, and that's what I have to say.
Yeah, that's my take. Is I'm giving Jim Harbaugh every benefit of the doubt he possibly can get, just because what he's done for this program, especially the last 2 years. Obviously want him to stay. Now, the reality is, if there's any sort of truth to, like, he's shopping around again, I am a little concerned, because, like, what are we gonna do this every single year, especially like during the most important time in recruiting? Like,
well, he's got to be gone if he's actually shopping himself hard, and if it was true that he was really intending to leave, which I don't even really believe last year, because nothing fell apart. The only thing that happened was Josh Gaddis left, and I'm not 100% sure that was not sort of mutual, because I mean, you look at what Michigan did. They didn't hire from outside. They obviously promoted the two coaches they didn't want to lose, probably mostly in Sharon Moore. And everything worked out. No guys decommitted at signing day. Nothing happened. So I don't know if he was really trying to leave at that point. I think there would have been more turnover than what happened.
Yeah, and in going back to what we were talking about,
also another point is, once he did his little power play at Michigan, he signed 7 transfers, a handful of them which aren't graduates, which I don't think I'd seen a single non-graduate transfer at Michigan in his whole tenure. So maybe there is some credence to the fact that he was like, all right, I want more money for my assistants. I want more money for recruiting. I want less rules from the administration.
More leniency. I'm bringing guys in. Yeah. And going back to, and we'll move on to, like, if this were to happen, like, potential candidates, if it is like he is taking calls and going to interviews, I wouldn't, like, blame Michigan for going in another direction, just because it's really hard to run a program when, like, it gets to the recruiting time and your head coach is going to athletes' homes trying to get them to commit for 4 years to play for Michigan. And while he's doing that, like, being in communication with NFL GMs and like actively searching for a head coaching job. Now, let's take this in a different direction. This is worst case scenario, because I think we agree, and most of the Michigan fans agree, that we want Jim Harbaugh to stay. Like, there's something special about this program. We are so clearly going in the right direction. There's no other man I want leading this program than Jim Harbaugh, and, like, you can tell the players want to stay. A bunch of guys like Mikey Sandstrom easily could have gone to the NFL draft, staying for another year in 2023. Like, the program's going in the right direction under Jim. Now, if he does take a job, and it does sound like he is, like, on the top of boards for, like, the Panthers, the Broncos, where would you personally decide to go if this head coaching job became a vacancy?
I honestly think at this point, Sharon Moore's got to be the guy. In my opinion, Sharon Moore's been there for the rebound of everything that Michigan's done offensively, in terms of bringing more physicality. I mean, when he came in and replaced Ed Warner as the offensive line coach, everything kind of changed. And I think I would give him more credit than anyone for the turnaround on offense, because ultimately what's driving the bus at Michigan is offensive line play being extraordinarily high level. So you've seen him be able to recruit. He's obviously got guys playing exceptionally well and developing that room. So at this point, for me, it feels like the logical progression, if Jim Harbaugh were to leave, is to jump him up to full head coach, Matt Weiss to OC, and keep.
That would make the most sense, and I'm kind of in the same boat where it's like I want to hire within, because this program, I want someone leading this program who's been with this program for the last couple of years for this turnaround, because it's been so amazing. Sherrone Moore is, in my opinion, I get the concerns of like the lack of experience, like never been a Power 5 head coach, and you have concerns with that, and you see kind of when guys like really good assistant coaches, really good coordinators jump up to big time jobs, like maybe some of that inexperience shows. I want somebody who's been with this program. He recruits at a high level, and I kind of completely agree with you that the turnaround for this Michigan football team outside of Jim, if you were to give credit to one other person, I think it would be Sherrone Moore. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Back-to-back Joe Moore Award winners. I think that makes the most sense. Now, if Michigan did have concerns with, like, Sherrone Moore's never been a Power 5 head coach, like this is a massive, massive program to become a head coach from, especially for how young and inexperienced he is from the head coaching standpoint. If you had to go outside of Michigan to bring somebody in, where would your targets be there?
Okay, so I'll give 3 that I think make sense if they could do it. I think Gus Malzahn should get a serious look.
Yes.
There's no reason he shouldn't be still coaching Auburn based on what you're seeing after he left, and his ability to compete with Alabama for a good chunk of the time is very impressive. 2, I mean, I don't know about whether you could swing this, but I think Dave Aranda would be a great hire, just because I'm a huge believer in Dave Aranda. I think what he's done at that school at Baylor and the defenses he's led, and he's doing this all from a place where he doesn't really have the recruiting firepower that I think a Michigan has. So I think those 2 would be my top ones. And then one, I think dark horse might be Willie Fritz. And I don't know a whole lot about Willie Fritz, but I know
all I know is he just beat USC with a Tulane team.
Together the greatest season of college football maybe we've ever seen. So I guess, again, for me, I want Sherrone Moore. But if we're going outside, those are the 3 names that kind of jumped to my mind.
Yeah, know who came. So Gus Malzahn's probably one of the guys I'd want, and for very similar reasons. Like he has that big time blue blood Power 5 coaching experience, and he did it at a very high level. To be honest, I think that Auburn, the Auburn administration and the boosters, I just think is kind of a joke, and I think they run that program relatively poorly. I don't think he should have ever been out as Auburn's head coach. Another guy, and Dave Aranda, I think would be awesome. You guys know how I feel about Dave Aranda and what he's doing at Baylor. One other kind of guy that if he is looking to not jump ship, but like maybe jump up to like that blue blood level, Mark Stoops from Kentucky. A couple of reasons. One, what he's done with Kentucky is like the proof's in the pudding there. I mean, multiple 10-win seasons. They're always competing in the SEC. He kind of has a very similar vibe of what Michigan wants to do and what Michigan finds success with developing an offensive line, running the football, that physicality brand. There's also like he's from Youngstown, Ohio. And in the past, like Michigan's been competing with Mark Stoops for a lot of guys in Michigan and Ohio, and Mark Stoops is winning. Like he's getting some of these guys to come from Michigan, come from the state of Ohio, and go to Kentucky. I think Mark Stoops would do a phenomenal job recruiting that Michigan, Ohio area, where that is kind of where Michigan breads their butter and gets a lot of talent from. And there's Mark Stoops is, for my money, one of the best coaches in the whole entire country. And if he's looking for, I don't know if he'll ever win a national championship at Kentucky. So if he's looking for a spot where he can compete at the highest level, Michigan provides him that spot, and I think he'd be an absolutely great head coach in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, no, I mean that's another. Like you look at schools like Baylor, Kentucky. I mean, you've seen coaches make moves like that. I think I don't think it's impractical for Michigan to pull a head coach from. I mean, those are Power 5 programs, but they're not Michigan. I don't.
There's like six programs in the country where Michigan I don't think could like pull, if they wanted a guy like Michigan can go get pretty much any of their guys outside of maybe like 10 or 15 schools in the country. Like if you're kind of sitting outside of that blue blood top 15 program, like Michigan can go get you.
Yeah. And one other guy I feel like we maybe should mention is that Oregon State head coach, because
Jonathan Smith.
He's doing it like exactly like the way Michigan's doing it. He's taking like, okay, everybody in the Pac-12 is going spread. I'm going heavy. I'm going to play physical, and I'm going to beat teams up. And honestly, that's what Michigan and Harbaugh did to kind of bring the program back to the forefront. So he's another guy, even what you mentioned, like how Stoops wants to run a program, how Smith is, how even Aranda, frankly, is like, they all feel like good fits just because they're going to do, it's not going to be like a Rich Rodriguez situation where you're coming in and like doing a 180 on the culture. Like you're going to get guys who want to play the way Michigan's playing and are being really successful doing it.
Yeah. And I that's kind of where I'm at, is I don't want to take a coach who doesn't want to do what we've been doing the last 2 years. And I want a coach that has built.
Which would probably be the two issues with like guys like Willie Fritz or Gus Malzahn, who is like polar opposite of what Michigan does. So, I mean, although like that's a big name and you'll know he's going to get talent and you know he knows how to coach, there is the part of me that, well, the culture fit's probably not perfect with him.
And those are all things you have to consider. I don't know if I'm putting too much stock into, like, when you're running a big time program like Michigan, I'd want a head coach who has experience like that. And you look around, like Gus Malzahn is one of those guys. He's been coaching at Auburn, and that's as big of a program as there is in the whole entire country. And he gets it. He knows the responsibilities that you need to have. And if there's one, and I echo, if we have to replace Jim Harbaugh, I would like it to be Sharon Moore. If there's one question mark you do have with Sharon Moore, is like, that's a big jump from just coaching the offensive line and being a co-offense coordinator to being a head coach of one of the biggest brands in college football, the Michigan Wolverines. There are question marks to that, but it's really hard for me to look at where this Michigan program is going and who they have coming back and the culture that's been instilled with this program, and say, I want them to go out.
And what he's done in turn, I do think he is like a culture builder. That's the big thing with Sharon Moore, is like, yes, he maybe hasn't dealt with the boosters in the same way that Gus Malzahn has and dealing with that side of the program. But God, at least one thing is he knows how to build a winning culture in his room. And I would think he should be able to carry that over to the team. And you maintain the continuity.
In terms of like coaching chops, like all of Michigan's offensive linemen could go to the NFL draft. We have 6 guys that I think might be drafted. Like Trente Jones also is a guy that could go enter the NFL draft and potentially be picked. Like in terms of developing and how good is he at as being just a football coach? He's great at it. He's excellent at it. And so more of the story, and we're going to cut it here, is like,
the haters are back. They're back coming after Michigan.
Ohio State's paying the media to get these rumors out, trying to hurt our recruiting. You know it's happening. Now I'm being a little joking, but like this does happen every year. More of the story is Jim Harbaugh.
He gets eyeballs.
Like, we all want him to stay in Ann Arbor. That being said, it is worth having a discussion of like where would Michigan go if this were to happen again. Let us know in the comment section your guys' take on this. Is, again, we do this every year. Hopefully he stays. But again, if you guys do like talking Michigan ball, consider subscribing. This is the place to be if you're a Michigan fan. We love talking with you guys in the comment section as well. And we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.